Yo everyone, welcome to my predictions and breakdown of the entire UFC Fight Night Hill vs Rountree fight card. This card does have a few really solid matchups on it, so I am interested in breaking them all down for you guys today. Before we get into the video though, like I always do, let's quickly go back and talk a little bit about the previous fight card, which was UFC Fight Night Usman vs Buckley. And honestly guys, the card was a bit hit or miss overall. There were some absolute stinker fights, but there were also some absolute insane finishes on the card. Two incredibly weird finishes with Bellato getting upkick KO'd into a no contest by Paul Craig. Then Mansour Abdulmalik getting a finish sort of against Cody Brundage, but it got overruled into a decision because of a headbutt before the finish, making it go to points, which I'll just say, because I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not. I assume it's an unpopular opinion, but I thought if it went to points and they had to score the fight in the scorecards, I thought Brundage could have won the fight. I don't know how it was 30-27. It seems absolutely diabolically insane to me, but I'll just need to rewatch the fight in the future. I was very nervous for Abdul Malik when they were presenting the winner. I really thought that Cody Brundage could have won in the scoring, and scoring the third round as a whole round is just absolutely ridiculous to me and completely unfair to Cody Brundage at the end of the day, regardless of anything that happens, regardless of who won or who lost. As for Usman, super happy for him getting the dub. The man can still compete at his age, and not only compete, but win convincingly. Happy for him. He was clearly emotional after his fight as well. Buckley didn't look terrible, but man, he did need to stuff those takedowns earlier in the fight. He needed to make that change. Stuffing them all in the 5th round was just a little too late for me, man. Looking to see who they match him up against next. Maybe give him the Ian Gary fight if they are willing to do that still. It would be a nice fight just to see, but they might be looking to give him someone lower than Ian Gary now. Anyways, in regards to the channel results on the card, I believe we went 7 and 12 on picks overall, which doesn't seem too bad to me, but I think on average I have a pretty high picks percentage, so I'd like to bounce back there in my opinion. For my bets, I actually ended up going down on the card. I think I went down like 1.2 units. I'll put the results on screen for you guys now, just for transparency reasons, of course. I don't hide my losses at all. All my parlays, normal parlays, went all good, but no one except for Wellmaker got it done by finish for me in terms of my individual bets. Even one of those guys winning would have broke me even on money or won me money, but it is what it is sometimes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, guys. I will be posting the full card betting guide for this card later on this week when the betting lines are fully out, and I also want to remind you guys about the subscribers bet of the week. I want you guys to go into the comment section below and let me know what your favorite bets are for this card, and I will take one person's bet to add to the betting guide for this week. You're going to have to do it pretty soon, guys. Unfortunately, I have posted this video quite late, so I'll be posting the betting guide within around 2 days, so please try to get your comments in before then. And remember, this bet may be a specific bet that I like, or even top comment with the most likes on the video. If you think you've got a solid bet in mind, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and you may see your comment and bet in the newest betting guide as an addition to the bets. Anyways guys, without further ado, let's finally jump into the video. I'll be starting with the prelims and working my way all the way to the main event. Timestamps are in the description and the comment section below if you'd like to skip to any fight in particular. We're going to be starting with the first fight of the card, which is Hamdy Abdelwahab versus Mohammed Usman. And sorry guys for the later predictions video again. I did just mention it, that this is a pretty late video. I have been sick. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I've been pretty sick. And I've also been quite busy. There's been a lot going on for me this week, so sorry about this. We're going to get back to the fight prediction though. I'll say this about Hamdy Abdelwahab. If you guys didn't hear me talk about this last time I had to pick him for a fight, I don't know how this guy got to come back to the UFC after testing positive for multiple steroids in his UFC debut. I don't really care if you fight good or if your fight was good in general, or if you even took the fight on short notice and it was like sort of like a favor for the UFC. It just seems ridiculous to me. And to add on top of this, I actually did pick Hamdy to win his comeback fight against Jamal Pogues, and I thought he honestly got gifted a pretty clear robbery decision win too. I thought Pogues clearly won that fight 2 rounds to 1. Maybe even 3 rounds you could make the argument for. And this is someone who is picking Hamdy Abdelwahab to win that fight, so you know there is no bias from me in terms of that judging. I'm just spitting the truth here, guys. If I'm talking about this matchup though here, Hamdy should win this fight a good amount of the time. Usman's strong, he's durable, he hits hard, but the guy, compared to his brother, who just won in the last weekend in the main event, is relatively unskilled in my opinion. And for all I've already said about Hamdy, the guy is relatively talented, he can strike, he can wrestle, he's doing both at a decent level. I worry a little bit for Hamdy because he does seem to like to engage in a scrap a bit, and Usman does pack quite a powerful punch, but Hamdy is still the more technical guy. I think he's going to use his wrestling from the get-go in this fight. Usman only wins this fight by KO. I'm going to say it. I don't see a world where he wins this fight by decision. Hamdy or Abdelwahab will win this fight in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Hamdy to win this fight. I'm going to say by a clear decision win or maybe a ground and pound TKO if we are lucky. Moving on to Tagir Ulanbekov versus Azat Maksum. Now, this is a great matchup for me. I honestly think this is going to be one of the more technical fights on the card. Both guys are extremely well-rounded. Both guys have got power in their hands. Both guys are big for the weight class. And the BJJ and wrestling of both guys is extremely solid. They're extremely similar in a lot of ways. And even their weaknesses are the same as well, now that I think about it. Both guys don't have the best defensive wrestling. They are both good once their BJJ gets to the ground. They are good in terms of the scrambles, but they can be taken down quite easy and can be controlled a bit from time to time in their fights. They also both seem to get hit a little more than what I'd like. Their striking is good, but the head movement and defense needs a bit of work. And it really does surprise me that Azat Maksum is this much of an underdog going into this one, since I really do think it's close to a 50-50 here. I would still edge it to Tagir Ulanbekov, but I think it's just minor things swaying me at this point. I think I like Azat Maksum in terms of the fact that he's slightly more dangerous on the feet. I think he has more of a potential to hurt Tagir or to hurt him in some exchanges, do more damage. His boxing combinations are a little smoother and better in my opinion, but Tagir I think will be the better offensive wrestler, and that's where I think I will be leaning in favor to and for in terms of my pick. Both guys can obviously be taken down and both guys can scramble well, but I think Tagir is the more likely to get this fight to the ground consistently if he decides to play it that way, and I think I might even give him the slight edge in offensive grappling overall. I think he wins a couple of rounds with his offensive grappling to secure a 29-28 decision win. That's my prediction for this one. And like I said though guys, to me this matchup is incredibly close, and I think for anyone wanting to pick Azat Maksum to win this fight, I have absolutely no complaints. I think he's a really solid underdog candidate for this fight. I could 100% see him winning by out-damaging Tagir, but I think I will slightly lean towards Tagir Ulanbekov to win this one. Moving on to Irina Alekseeva versus Klaudia Sygula. And now the funny thing I want to mention about this fight and the other women's fights on the card, and correct me if I'm wrong here guys, but Melissa Mullins, formerly known as Melissa Dixon, is versing Daria Zhelezniakova in her fight on this card. It's directly after this one. But not only is Melissa Mullins on this card, and the fact she's also beaten her opponent already, not long ago in another promotion, but she's also beaten both Irina Alekseeva and Klaudia Sygula as well, which is just insane to me. There's only 4 women on the card, and one of them has beaten the other 3, and will potentially get another win over another one come fight night. I just thought it was a bit of a funny fact for you guys there. There's nothing really funny in regards to this matchup though. Maybe the only funny thing is that this might be the lowest level fight we could possibly watch, but I think I'm just being a bit of an asshole here really. But it's whatever guys, who cares? Irina Alekseeva is the pick here, but I think she should be a very slight favorite in this one, not a moderate favorite. She literally has zero technique in the stand-up and relies pretty heavy on her chin and her power to walk down her opponents and make it scrappy to try to hurt them or get them down to the ground and work on them there as well. Klaudia Sygula is the more skilled fighter in the stand-up in my opinion, but I'm using the term skilled very loosely here. She does have power too. She has her own throws as well. She likes her armbar subs. But guys, Irina Alekseeva is probably just going to beat her with more activity in this one. That's how I see it going. I could see one of them hurting the other as well, so you won't catch me putting this fight into a parlay like I usually do, where I chuck like the 2 women's fights to go the distance. But yeah guys, Irina Alekseeva is the pick, but it's one of the harder fights to predict on the card. It's going to be a lower skilled fight. Moving on to Melissa Mullins versus Daria Zhelezniakova. And we've got the destroyer of girls on this card, Melissa Mullins, facing off against Daria Zhelezniakova, not only a woman who she's already beaten, but she TKO'd her with ground and pound in the first round. So this has got to be some great matchmaking by the UFC. Just insane if I don't say so myself. But to get serious here for a second, I will say this. Zhelezniakova actually did have her good moments in that first fight. She was better on the feet, she was more dangerous, she looked like she hurt her a few times, she rocked her, but Melissa Mullins has improved in the striking in my opinion, and not only that, Zhelezniakova hasn't seemed to improve at all in her takedown defense and still gets taken down very, very easily. Melissa Mullins should be able to get her down again, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a repeat TKO finish, but more so in the second or third round of this fight. The edge on the ground is just too significant to ignore, and Melissa Mullins has been able to use it on so many girls at this point. Melissa Mullins is the pick, but no go to decision bet for this card. or parlay for me with these fights, like I already said. Moving on to Ismail Naurdiev versus Junyong Park. And I honestly think this is going to be a pretty fun fight. I think Ismail Naurdiev is an underdog a lot of people are going to jump on. Watching his last performance against Bruno Silva, he showed pretty solid grit. He's got good cardio, good boxing, mixed in really solid wrestling and clinch work, and just showed how well-rounded he was in his UFC return to the octagon. But Junyong Park, the Iron Turtle, is extremely underrated, man. He's got some good wins, and his losses aren't that terrible. Like, since 2016, he's only lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, Anthony Hernandez, Gregory Rodriguez, and Andre Muniz, with Andre Muniz probably being the least impressive out of the 4 names to beat him. And even in that fight, Park reversed position multiple times on the ground, and was on the ground and pounding Andre Muniz really hard in that fight. I do like him, guys. I think he's very underrated, so I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I think Ismail Naurdiev is still relatively bad defensively. I've watched a lot of fights of his now. He gets caught a lot on the feet in some exchanges. I think I like Junyong Park, who is not only great on the ground, but great in the stand-up. He's going to make it a rougher time in there for his opponent by applying some steady forward pressure in the stand-up. That's my opinion for this fight, guys. I might end up putting a bet on that, but I'm not quite sure yet. I don't see Ismail taking down Park, though, or holding him down similarly to Andre Muniz. I really see Park out-strengthening him in a lot of positions and doing quite well if it does get to the ground, and people forget that Park has a lot of submissions himself as well. He's a very well-balanced fighter, guys. Junyong Park is the pick. Moving on to Sadykhov Ko versus Oban Elliott. Both of these guys, as some of you already know, were meant to fight different opponents only a couple of cards ago, and now they are fighting each other. Oban Elliott was meant to fight Ramiz Brahimaj, and Sadykhov Ko was meant to fight Billy Ray Goff. And here's the thing, guys. I was actually ready to pick Sadykhov Ko, and I did pick him to beat Billy Ray Goff in their original matchup, and he was a pretty big underdog going into that fight. He's a bigger one going into this one. But the point I'm making is that I really do think that Sadykhov Ko is pretty underrated. I think he's better than what a lot of people think. He's very well-rounded. He's got good timing on his takedowns. He's got solid cardio. He's got great output. He's got great power. I think for anyone, that's a tough matchup. And although I do think Oban Elliott should be a favorite, since he's shown he can handle guys inside the UFC, and he's also shown to be well-rounded himself with solid grappling and striking, I think there are a lot of holes in both guys' games, both struggling defensively in the striking to a degree. Like, Sadykhov Ko is a little worse off in that regard since his head is usually on the center line. But I don't know, guys. I'm trying to get to my point here. The point I'm making is that unless Oban Elliott comes out and absolutely dominates Ko in the striking and in the grappling as well, I think this fight is going to get relatively scrappy and end up being a very close fight on the judges' scorecards, and it's hard for me to see him absolutely dominating Ko. I've watched a lot of fight tape on Oban Elliott now. He is great at grappling, don't get me wrong, but defensively, there are a lot of issues, and he's very open to being controlled and being submitted. I just don't see Oban Elliott being able to do to Ko what he did to Basil Hafez in their fight together, and I don't think he will be able to coast around the outside and play the tit-for-tat game with him at range. I think there are going to be a lot of forced exchanges where it gets hairy, and I worry for both guys there, but Ko is the more powerful of the two, which makes me like that underdog pick, and I also think Oban might slow down in the later rounds of this fight against Ko. There's no rhyme or reason here, guys, too much. I'm trying to explain it the most. I just feel like going with the riskier pick here. I do like Oban Elliott, though. He's a very solid fighter. He seems like a decent dude, but I just think that Sadykhov Ko is super underrated. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is going to be a performance where it's going to showcase it here, but if these boys have a close fight, I'll claim my "you were right" badge in this scenario. So I'm picking the underdog, Sadykhov Ko. Risky one, guys. Moving on to the main card, Mohammed Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. And before we even get into this pick, guys, if you like the video you're watching and want to see more videos from me, please leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already, just to show some support for the channel and help it grow. I appreciate it a lot. Now to jump into the matchup, it's an interesting one for you guys. I've been doubting Bogdan Grad for a little bit now, and it's because of obviously the Tom Nolan KO loss, and even the Michael Aswell fight that I watched. It's just, I can see the guy has a lot of openings on the feet, and overall defensively, he's not that great. It's sort of like I'm waiting for a good enough fighter to be able to capitalize on those openings and even in the defensive grappling as well. And Naimov, I feel like, might be that guy. I do think Mohammed Naimov is the more technical guy almost everywhere this fight can go, but Bogdan Grad is going to try to smother you with a very, very heavy pace no matter how good you are, and it's just either you get him out of there or you need to up your own fight pace to compete with him and outdo him on the feet on damage if you want to win this fight by decision. I think Bogdan Grad is a very solid underdog. I expect a lot of people to be picking him going into this matchup for all the reasons I just mentioned, but I just have to go with the more technical guy almost everywhere, who should be able to avoid the grappling threat, who should be able to outdamage and even hurt Bogdan Grad, and just the overall more technical fighter with less weaknesses. Mohammed Naimov doesn't do anything extremely well, but he does do everything great, and I think he should be able to hurt Bogdan in this fight, or at least outdamage him at the very least in 2 rounds of the 3 rounds of this fight and go to decision win. If Bogdan wins this fight, in my opinion, it's by decision or 3rd round finish by tiring out and finishing Naimov on the ground with his grappling. And that's something I could see happening, guys. It's a super annoying one to pick. It's a very close pick, but I'm going to go with Mohammed Naimov here. Moving on to Nazim Sadykhov versus Nikolas Motta. And I don't know how many, if any at all, people I've picked for confident picks on this card already. I don't think I've even picked a single one so far. But if I had to only pick one fighter on this card to be a confident pick, it would be this one. Nazim Sadykhov is extremely technical on the feet and extremely well-rounded in general as a martial artist. He's currently coming off an impressive doctor's stoppage win over Ismail Bonfim, where he caught him with a nasty question mark kick that ultimately stopped the fight because it seemed to stop Bonfim from seeing properly. Nikolas Motta is a dangerous striker. He's a powerful dude. He's pretty solid in the pocket overall, but this is a pretty big mismatch. Nazim Sadykhov, as long as he can avoid a lot of the in-the-pocket fighting, he should be able to win this fight fairly easily and potentially find a finish here as well. He's just so good, and something I really do like about him is the fact that he's extremely defensively responsible. He shoulder rolls a lot, he has a tight rear guard, and he counters when he sees the openings to do so. I think it's going to be a very easy fight for him and a potential finish as well wherever the fight goes. I'm picking Nazim Sadykhov to win here, and he's going into my confident picks list as well. Moving on to Tofiq Musayev versus Myktybek Orolbai. And this is a very good matchup, guys. I'm sure it's going to be another exciting fight. Myktybek Orolbai gave us the fight of the year pretty much in his last fight against Mateusz Rebecki, so you know the dude is down for a scrap. He's not afraid to push forward and pressure his opponents. That fight was a very close fight too. There's no shame in losing that one. But in regards to this matchup, I do like Orolbai's pressure and volume in this matchup, actually. I also think we're going to see him use his offensive grappling to much success in this fight, and I do think it's going to be an easier matchup for him as well. Since Rebecki, I believe, was a southpaw, and although Orolbai has good footwork, he does love to circle to the right, which did put him in a lot of danger in that fight and caused him to take a lot of damage. Tofiq is pretty reliant on heavy punches, especially from his right hand to damage his opponents. I worry for Orolbai since his head movement isn't the best, but I do believe he will make up for it in this match with durability and his footwork. I don't see Tofiq being able to bulldoze Orolbai like he does with many of his opponents. I could potentially see him start to crumble and wilt a little bit going into the later half of this fight. I actually think Myktybek Orolbai gets a finish into the later rounds of this fight by mixing in his grappling with his versatile striking game to wear down Tofiq throughout the fight while slowing him down with accumulated damage. That's my pick, guys. Moving on to the feature fight of the card, which is Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. And this is how shallow the heavyweight division is, guys. When the number 5 guy in the world, Curtis Blaydes, takes on an unknown dude making his UFC debut, you know there's not many fighters in the heavyweight division. I know Rizvan is pretty good. I've heard of him before. I'm just talking in perspective of the average UFC fan. But this is still a weird matchup to me. It's probably because Curtis Blaydes doesn't have a lot of good matchups for him right now at the top of the division. He would have to have a lot of rematches with anything, or fighters that have beaten him before, or fighters he has beat. But regardless of any of that, I do think I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes to win this fight, but I am nervous for him though. I'm not going to lie to you. Kuniev is strong. He's a solid striker with great power. But man, knowing that he popped for all those steroids and now he's most likely on nothing entering the UFC, it's got to take a hit to your recovery, to your speed, to your power. And I know he did come back after the no contest with Renan Ferreira to KO Hugo Cunha, I believe it was, on the Contender Series, but there's a big difference between that guy and Curtis Blaydes when you're off PEDs. I honestly think that Curtis uses a very wrestling-heavy approach in this fight with Kuniev and takes him down and controls him for a good majority of the fight, and that's what I think happens. I think Kuniev has a decent offensive wrestling ability, but defensively, I don't think he's that great. I watched Bruno Ferreira reverse position on him quite a few times in their fight together. I've also seen him tripped quite a few times, sweeped and thrown to the ground. I think Curtis Blaydes is good enough. With his style of volume wrestling, he should be able to get this one done and take down Rizvan Kuniev in this fight. Curtis Blaydes gets a little too much disrespect for me, guys. He's only ever lost to Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Sergey Pavlovich, and Tom Aspinall. I can't count out a guy like that just yet in his career. I believe he should be able to avoid the big punches of Kuniev and get this fight to the ground, wearing him down to eventually get a decision win. That's what I think happens here, guys. Curtis Blaydes is the pick. Moving on to the co-main event of the card, Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. And this is a sick-ass co-main event, guys, we've got here. I know Rafael Fiziev is coming off of 3 losses in a row, but I'll be excited to watch a Fiziev fight as long as I'm a fan of the sport. Plus, there are asterisks on those losses, like a super short notice fight with Justin Gaethje, and an injury loss similar to Tom Aspinall's loss to Curtis Blaydes, but this was to Mateus Gamrot. And honestly, I'm a little bit of an Ignacio Bahamondes doubter right now. I like him as a fighter, and I don't want to disrespect him at all. He seems like a cool dude, but I've just gotten the feeling that a real solid striker is going to cause him a lot of problems in there, and it's happened before, guys. It's happened in the past, and I think Rafael Fiziev can be the guy to take advantage of those weaknesses in his striking. Ignacio just doesn't have the head movement right now. He takes way too many shots he doesn't need to take, and he just gets saved a lot of the time because of his massive height and reach advantage and just how hard it is to get to him. But someone like Rafael Fiziev, who I think will be the more explosive and faster fighter in this matchup, should be able to close the distance and make this fight a closer range fight in the pocket with Ignacio and out-damage him overall throughout the course of the fight. We might see a very similar fight go down, like a Bahamondes versus Ludwig Klein. I think the speed advantage, the slicker combinations, the navigation inside the pocket is going to be the real difference maker going into this fight. I think that Rafael Fiziev has the advantage in all those areas, and I'm going to say that Fiziev, if he doesn't catch him or finish Bahamondes, this will be a back and forth fight that ends in a clear win for Fiziev, 29-28 on the judges' scorecards. That's my opinion on this fight, guys. We can now move on to the main event of the evening, Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr. I'm really keen for this one, guys, and I'm going to say my prediction for the main event very early on here. I think I'm going to go with the underdog in Jamahal Hill to get this one done, and I feel pretty good about that pick, honestly, guys. I know Khalil is dangerous. I know he showed off a pretty solid performance, especially early on against Alex Pereira in their fight together. And I also know how much Hill gets clowned on, but the dude is extremely solid overall as a fighter. He's super tough, he's durable, and the dude has shown the cardio and fight IQ to go 5 rounds with Glover Teixeira on short notice, which is absolutely insane to me. And I think the last thing that I mentioned regarding cardio will be the most important factor going into this fight. Watching Khalil start off as good as he did against Pereira was amazing, but obviously he slowed down going into the 3rd and 4th round, both due to cardio and accumulated damage from Pereira, but this makes me feel like Jamahal Hill can do the same thing to Khalil Rountree here. Jamahal Hill's quirky, he's unorthodox, and I have said this from the beginning that I just don't like his footwork overall. I think it's pretty bad, honestly, but it does work for him, and against a lot of the best fighters in the world, he does pretty well, and Yuri and Pereira are the only people that have finished Jamahal Hill in the striking, and they might be in the top 3 best fighters in the division right now, in my opinion. And even in Jamahal Hill's fight with Yuri, he weathered an early storm in the 1st round to come back and do really well in the 2nd, securing the 2nd round, and this was in one of Yuri's best performances to date. He showed massive improvements, and Jamahal Hill was still able to get that 2nd round and make the fight competitive. I don't think Khalil Rountree does that with many of his opponents. I've seen Khalil be finished many times. I've also seen Khalil win fights he should have lost, most notably his fight with Dustin Jacoby. And with all this information going through my head, guys, I really feel like leaning towards Jamahal Hill in this one. We know that Khalil will most likely have the speed advantage going into this one. He's most likely going to be extremely fast and dangerous early on, but I think the same thing will happen again, just like in his fight with Alex Pereira. We're going to see a very dangerous Khalil Rountree Jr. in the early rounds, with the fight being decently competitive. But then we're going to see Jamahal Hill take over, most likely from round 3 onwards, and either win a decision or get a late rounds TKO. Jamahal Hill is going to be my pick for this fight, guys. That's my prediction for the main event as well, and that will wrap up my full card predictions and breakdown for the entire UFC Fight Night Hill vs Rountree Jr. fight card. And if you guys have any thoughts or any questions for me regarding the card, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to respond to every single comment left in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.